Hello, everyone. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever anyone is in the world. My name is Amy Peck. I am the founder and CEO of Endeavor XR. We are focused on using immersive technology in a business context. I am absolutely thrilled to be here today to start this wonderful discussion just one day after International Women's Day, to talk about how we can enable women and bring more women into STEM and really address the gender digital divide globally. So this is being recorded and it will be made available afterwards on the UNDP UNICEF STEM for All platform. And if you have questions, please do put them in the Q&A. We will monitor those and we will get to as many as we possibly can towards the end. So this is the 67th session of the Commission of the Status of Women. And I'd like to start with some opening remarks. I'd like to invite Marina Walter, who is the Deputy Assistant Administrator and Deputy Director of the UNDP Regional Bureau for Europe and the CIS. And Marina, if you would begin with some opening remarks.
Amy, thank you so much. Colleagues, partners and friends, good morning or good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are joining us from. On behalf of UNDP, I'm really delighted to welcome you today to this virtual side event of the 67th Commission on the Status of Women, co-organized by STEM for All, of course, which is a joint initiative of UNDP and our friends at UNICEF in Europe and Central Asia. And it's my great pleasure, of course, to be here with my UNICEF colleague who represents our partner in crime, I would say, our partner agency in this very important flagship initiative. Thank you very much for joining us today to explore how technology can bridge the gender digital divide, and also how we can continue to work together to achieve gender equality in the digital age. When we looked at a couple of figures, it became clear that, it is estimated that around 97 million new jobs will be created by 2025. And even more important, 90% of these future jobs will require skills in STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And they are the cornerstone, in a way, of a lot of what we see will be the professional future. However, the gender digital divide, of course, persists. It prevents women and girls from accessing skills and opportunities needed to enter and advance the jobs of today and in the future. In Central Asia and Eastern Europe, the percentage of women professionals in STEM fields ranges from roughly 14 to 40%. While globally women only make up 33% of STEM professionals. Only 20% of leaders in the ICT are women in the Eastern Partnership states. So we still have a little bit of a way to go, I think. To address these challenges, last fall, UNDP and our partners at UNICEF joined forces to launch STEM for All, which is a digital platform to advance gender equality in STEM fields in Europe and Central Asia by supporting women and girls in skilling up, realizing their potential to grow in these areas, but also to access opportunities across STEM fields, both in education, but also in their career aspirations. The STEM for All platform offers to its participants many useful tools. It's about knowledge sharing, it's powerful stories and best practices, but also resources and networking, which is really very important to accelerate collaboration between these critical sectors in the STEM ecosystem. STEM for All is host to the STEMinist Network, a global intergenerational virtual network of over 125 professionals in STEM, policymakers, employers, multilateral organizations, and civil society organizations, creating this kind of opportunities for an efficient peer exchange, faster collaboration, mentorship, but also support across the board. As STEM for All hopefully continues to grow, we have planned initiatives to support women and girls, including refugees and internally displaced people in crisis countries, such as Ukraine, Moldova, Belarus. Together with the STEMinist Network, we will build mentorship, skilling, and entrepreneurship programs. And we will use technology to gather expertise on the ground to help design and implement our programs with the critical inputs, and that is keys, and the insights from the women and girls that we aim to support. Look, ultimately, I would say we aim to proactively shift social and cultural norms, because this is really what we're looking at, to increase access to education and opportunities, and at the end of the day, to create a more inclusive workplace. Today, we're really looking forward to hearing your perspectives, because that's what we're here for, on how we can better work together as governments, as educators, private sector, as the UN, and as a community of organizations to advance gender equality through the use of innovative technologies and education. So let's use today to examine together how digital tools and platforms like STEM for All can be used to build a better and a more equal, supportive future that ensures exactly this inclusive participation for women and girls, not just as professionals, but at the end of the day, as leaders in and across the STEM sectors. Thank you so much for joining us from wherever you are, in whatever time zone. And we're really looking forward to getting some of the reflections. And thank you again for your commitment to advance gender equality in STEM. And now I turn back to Amy. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Marina. And so we will hear from a partner at UNICEF ICARO, Philip Corey, who is the Deputy Regional Director at UNICEF ICARO. So Philippe, over to you.
Thank you so much, Amy, for giving me an opportunity and following what Marina just said. I'm super excited by this engagement. There is nothing better to transform society than to invest in STEM. And I've seen the transformative power of this program, and UNICEF is working on this in 12 countries. And I've met several. Recently, I was in Moldova, and I met some of these IT girls that were, going in villages also to support and promote, education around science, math, and daring to be engineers with other girls. And I could see the power for these girls as individuals. They change. They are daring. They are confident. And they're truly for their countries and societies agents for change. And at the same time, for younger girls, they become a model to follow. So this nothing more transformative than this investment. And I would like to thank all of you for that, because it takes a whole of a society approach: private sector, academia, government, municipalities. The girls I met in Chisinau were actually supported as well with the municipality of Chisinau, just to show that at the end, that solidarity and joining forces around that is also very important. I wish to thank you, because I've seen in the list of participants today quite a number of society actors, civil society, mayors, academia, corporates. It's simply amazing. And let's continue the teaming up on this investment. It is so transformative, and you could really see changes. And as UNICEF, we're also very much concerned by children, well-being, and truly this is also directly impacting on the well-being of children as well. So thank you so much, and we are so much looking forward to continue to support this debate, this conversation, and these joint actions. Thank you so much. Back to you, Amy.
Thank you, Philippe and Marina. Your passion for this effort is shining through. And so I look forward to continuing this conversation. And I'd like to introduce now Tiffany Sprague, who has been instrumental in helping bring us all together here today. She's going to share a little bit more about the STEM for All platform. Tiffany.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. In the spirit of the theme for CSW, we wanted to take this opportunity to share with you the STEM for All platform, just to give you a brief taste of what it looks like as we are leveraging the power of technology to really bring together the ecosystem actors, as everyone's been talking about. So in today's world, there's a vast amount of information. You go onto the internet and you're just bombarded with a lot of information, and it can make it challenging for people to find and process this information and connections that they need, leading to this sense of overwhelm and possibly difficulty in trying to make informed decisions. So in addition, the accessibility of this information is not equal for all people. And when it comes to information on gender equality in STEM, there's a lack of accurate and comprehensive data on women and girls and their experiences, their needs and contributions to STEM. So to address these challenges, UNDP and UNICEF joined forces last year to launch the STEM for All platform, which is, it's an open, it's innovative and interactive platform to help people find this reliable information and interactive platform to help find information and connections more efficiently. So I'm just going to share with you the landing page. This is what it looks like. So it brings together streamlined communication with all the tools in one place. It's a one-stop shop, basically. It's designed to be accessible to all users of all ages and backgrounds and has attracted users already from 160 countries. So when you come here, you have these, quick shortcut buttons if you're a woman or a girl looking for STEM, if you're in the private sector, if you're a policymaker, if you're an educator, a parent, caregiver, this website is for you. So what it does, it curates reliable, up-to-date content to save users time and effort in sorting through the vast amounts of information. It has 5 main components. So first, it has data by country. If you want to look at the status of women in STEM by country, and right now the focus is on Europe and Central Asia. It also has the ability to have communications products about women and girls in STEM to inspire other women and girls to follow, as well as governments and employers for increased measures for inclusion. There's a problem with seeing role models out there, so we're trying to put together all the amazing women and girls throughout our region and sharing their stories. We also have curated tools for policymakers, the private sector, development practitioners, parents and caregivers to go and look. We curate some these resources and tools for you. And then for women and girls, if they're having, want some inspiration, they're looking for opportunities, we regularly update this with up-to-date jobs and internships. If you're looking for online learning courses, if you're looking for like mentorship programs, you can search by country. And again, it's limited right now to Europe and Central Asia with the hopes to expand. You can do research funding as well. So this is sort of really geared towards women and girls looking for opportunities. And then the last is our STEMinist network, which, as Marina had pointed out, is an open virtual community whose members represent governments, academia, the private sector, civil society, and international organizations. And they are already running impactful programs on the ground. The network currently has 150 members across 60 countries. And we think that by having this diverse ecosystem of a network, we foster collaboration for an ecosystem approach for collective coordinated strategies for that felt change in society, in schools, and in the workplace. So we try to gather quarterly online for safe discussions and networking. Members can submit articles, they can do, if they have resources to share, events for amplification, we put that on the STEM for All platform. And our focus for 2023 is to co-design and implement mentorship programs, accelerator programs, skilling programs targeting women and girls, especially in conflict areas. So STEM for All's approach is to use the power of technology to leverage UNDP's and UNICEF's expertise and positions to convene strong networks of all these ecosystem actors in a holistic way. These actions will help to tackle the key gender barriers holding women and girls back from STEM by shifting these cultural and social norms, create more inclusive workplaces, and increase access to education opportunities, leading to this ultimate goal of an enabling environment. So if you want to learn more about STEM for All, or you want to join our STEMinist network, I will put in the link in the chat box for you to come in, and we're open, we're welcoming new members. Thanks so much, and I turn it back to you, Amy.
Thank you, Tiffany. This is such an excellent resource. I think while we are all heartened by the positive energy and movement around these efforts, as Marina pointed out, there's still a lot of work to do. So I'd like to introduce our esteemed panel. We have Anna Nakashidze, who is the Chief Executive at Ezer Telecom. Welcome, Anna. And then we have Anel Fuller, who is a participant of the UNISAT nanosatellites. Welcome so much, Anel. And Danieta Sahachu, who's the Deputy Mayor of Pristina Municipality. Hello, welcome, Danieta. And Melek Pulatanak.
Hi.
Sorry, excuse me, I'm going to say Melek's surname properly. Melek Pulatanak. Okay, good. Thank you for the help. and you are the founder of the Turkish Women's International Network. Welcome to all of you. We're going to focus on two primary questions today, but we are very anxious to hear from all of you in the audience today. So please actually use the chat function. Might be easier for everyone to monitor rather than the Q&A. And hopefully we will have some time at the end to address some of those questions. And so, it's clear that this is, a global effort, and it takes, all of us working together to, push these initiatives forward. So Anna, let's start with you. How do you think that between governments and educators, private sectors, and even community organizations, how can they really work together to leverage technology, innovation, and education to address this gender equality and really empower young women all over the world?
Thank you, Amy. So obviously, I represent the private sector and the company which is called as a telecom. So I am myself an engineering graduate and come from technology by education as well, and then have been in the technology sector and kind of the telecom sector for over 20 years. And what I've seen over and over, and what I believe more, is that I believe in leading by example. And I believe in the leading by example as an inspiration for the girls and women to thrive. And examples are not mostly the shiny or successful examples, but are the relatable examples for girls and women. When I talk about relatability, I talk about the girls and women of every stage of the careers or education in the STEM areas. And there, I think the major cooperation that can happen between the private sector and the educational institutions in general is this experience sharing, is the sharing of understanding and raising awareness of women's thriving in STEM careers and engineering careers, and creating a knowledge of their presence in the sector. Often, when you go out to the schools, or you go out to different educational institutions, especially in the schools at an early age, there is not even a notion or understanding of the possibility of the successful career in STEM for women. And when you kind of step out for the discussion, you understand that completely different area and the prospect opens up for these girls, and they're very striving and asking questions, and they're very, very interested in that. So my company, myself, we're into very narrow technology area, which is a wholesale telecoms. This is completely like low awareness area. And I've had many cases going to universities, and when we're discussing the issues related to that, how important it is, why it is important, what we are doing, but also for girls, the creativity and a kind of a humane part of the business is very important. And somehow technology and STEM is considered as very machine related, something that is not creative. And discussions bring this whole new perspective to them as well, that it can be creative, and I can be thriving, and I can be that next in the area and in STEM. So as a representative of the private sector, we do a lot into bringing this awareness to students and the girls in the countries that we strive. At the beginning, there was a statistical information given of how much of the women are participating in Eastern Europe and Central Asia in engineering. And over my career, and my career has been Caucasus mainly and the Central Asia, what I've seen that there are girls even at the education levels, but then the further you go into private sector and further you go into career advancement, less and less women you see there. And the role of the private sector at that point is to help women within our kind of environment to advance. And this is not only by working with women or creating awareness only with girls and women, but also to create awareness for all. Because frequently male colleagues are not aware of the struggles that females have. They're not aware of the gaps that are objectively there, and it can be kind of proven by the numbers. So overall, I think the key here for the private sector cooperation with educational institutions or the governmental institutions is about awareness. It's awareness, it's creation of the perspective and overall kind of creating a more thriving environment for women. So this is kind of my perspective.
Yeah, and you said a couple of things that I'd love to call out there. I do find that in some of the programs where I've been a mentor, I've been involved, one of the number one things when we poll the women who have gone through some of these programs, one of the number one things that is the most impressive to them is the examples of other women who have risen through the ranks in whether it's in entrepreneurship or in a corporate environment. And then another thing that you said that I think is incredibly important is, women who are in power, who have the opportunity, who have the time to help other women that are even just within whether it's in your community, whether it's in your own company, that is an opportunity. And I think you're right. I think it's not that, our men and allies don't want to help. I think some of them are not aware. So the more that we as women can model this behavior, I think we'll have much better outcomes. So thank you so much for your insights there. And I'd like to pose the same question to Anel. How, from your perspective, early in your career and already amazingly accomplished, what are some of the ways that, all of these entities, public-private sector, and educators are, and even just community, again, are able to really help push these opportunities forward?
Yes, thank you very much for your question. I would just like to start off that I study in a private school, and I would mainly like to talk from my experience as a student, because I'm only 17 years old and I am actually at my senior year of high school. So I believe that all governments should implement new tools, new technologies and availabilities in the educational system. And what I mean by that is implementing more of a hands-on experience in the classroom. For example, my teacher used Meetup Inventor website to show us how to create apps, or V3 School's website to show us how to create websites. And the same could be used in all other subjects, in all other spheres. For example, PhET Simulations website could be used in physics. And why am I telling this is because no matter if it's private, public school, or are you homeschooled, those availabilities, they are out there and it's all for free. And I believe that implementing new system in education will create an atmosphere that would be comfortable to thrive in both for men and for girls, and therefore our generation will feel more confident and comfortable with dealing with technologies, STEM, and children from the very young age. They will be taught that men and girls are equal, because we would be in the same classroom doing the same things, and having our, let's say, potentials released. So I think this is very important for education, for confidence, and for having a generation that knows what powers they can have within themselves. So yes, thank you.
Yes, no, and I love that you said that it was really about, you know, your educator and your teacher, you know,
Yes.
bringing this to your attention, and I think that that's an important component of this. It's also educating educators on what resources can be available to them. Were there any you know, things that you might point to, or do you remember kind of an early moment where you were exposed to a technology or a concept that really made you say, oh, this is something I want to dig into?
Oh, I think there have been like several moments like that in my life, because I participated in some programs like UNISAT, and I will talk about this more in depth later, but UNISAT is basically a program where you build nanosatellites from scratch, and the whole program is basically only for girls. So when I saw that opportunity, and this is something happening in Kazakhstan, it definitely made me gasp, and I knew that I would not like to miss out on that. Or for example, I was talking before about the Meetup Inventor website, and within my computer science classes, I made an app, a biology app, using that website, and actually it was very easy for like someone my age, someone who may not know programming or coding in depth. So I'm sure there even have been more examples throughout my life. I just can't remember them
Yes.
straight away. Yeah, but there are opportunities are everywhere. You just have to look out for them. You just have to search for them, because at some time you just need to start it. You need to start finding opportunities, and then opportunities will start finding you. So this is what I believe.
That is so well put. And you know, I hear, you know, nano satellite technology, and the assumption is, well, that's not something for kids, right? And I think that's part of the problem, is that we underestimate what women can do, and what young people can do in general. And I think we're finding that through this exposure that you're mentioning, that really the possibilities are limitless. So thank you so much for sharing that, and I look forward to hearing more about your journey when we come back to you for the next question.
Thank you.
And Danieta, you know, coming again from the public sector side, you know, how are you seeing this you know, kind of partnership with public private sector educators, students, you know, really starting to take off? Oh, I think you're frozen, Danieta.
Thank you for the question, Amy. I'm very happy to be a... Can you hear me?
A little bit, Danieta. You're breaking up just a little bit, but now I think you're back.
Is that better now?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Technology. Thank you so much for the question and bringing us all together here. I love the diversity in the panel and what we've heard so far. I think we really bring different perspectives based on our experience. I'd like to start with something that I find imperative in terms of establishing a consensus that of what we mean by technology and the effect of it in closing the gender gap. And that is, for me, threefolded. One is that the helix approach to bringing together government, academia, industry, and organizations is fundamental to progress that is practical, impactful, and inclusive. Two, I believe that we will only manage to experience the increase of equality and equity if we focus on measures that increase economic and political empowerment, with or without technology. I believe that, as we know, an educated girl today, and especially in STEM, becomes a financially independent woman tomorrow, that contributes to the economy and does not accept gender-based violence at home or wherever she is. Third, technology is the ultimate effective mean to addressing the key systematic issues we've been facing all globally, all over the world, that actually contribute to gender inequality. For example, we can address gender bias in recruitment and hiring processes through AI, which allows us to have an objective hiring process. We can increase access to healthcare through telemedicine or other digital health technologies that help address gender disparities in healthcare, particularly for women that have no access or difficulty accessing healthcare facilities. We can do this by promoting safety, and this shows that technology can provide women with tools to protect themselves through apps or through wearable devices. And last but not least, also by encouraging a work and life balance, which is very important for women, through the flexibility of working remotely. So if we have these three elements as a consensus of why this is important, then we can work together. And I know this now fundamentally from a personal experience. So switching from the industry and organizations to the government over the past year is that we must all together, the government, the universities, the academia, the institutions, everyone else needs to align their agendas. We must bring our resources together in order to address this common goal in a very practical way that is measurable and people can experience, which I find very important, to experience the progress in terms of equality. How can we work together? We can work together in many ways. I'll try to list some of the ways I think are very important for this panel here, and for the girls that I hear are gonna listen to this later on through the STEM for All platform, which is, I applaud you for that. It's a very, very nice platform to have. We can work together by, first and foremost, increasing awareness on pursuing careers in STEM and in IT, and also by addressing gender bias in technology and education. So we make sure through a lot of different policies and projects, and I know a lot of projects that UNICEF Kosovo, UNDP Kosovo has done, especially with the government or with the private sector, in order to reach out to as many families and girls and to change the mindset that STEM fields are a career choice for girls too. So we change the mentality that it's a male-dominated industry and a career only for men. And we do this by working closely with families from a very early age on, because depending on how you raise a family, so if you have two children of different genders, then we need to make sure that they have access to a career the same way, regardless of differences in genders. We, of course, have a lot to do in this regard here in Pristina, but we are definitely on the right track. And I would like to share a fact with you all here, which I'm very proud of. And I know the whole industry is very proud of, the whole people that have worked for ages to do this. The University of Pristina right now has 60% of women, of students that are enrolling in the IT departments, computer engineering departments, are women, more than men, which definitely wasn't the case 10 years ago. We had not even 27% of students were women at that time. So we are definitely moving ahead, and that is important to notice. Second, we can work together by increasing access to technology. So if we have awareness, then we can allow people to actually have access to technology. And how we can do that all together is definitely not just simply by providing access to internet, because here in Kosovo, we have a very high internet penetration rate, which I hear also from the reports is that we are even a few points higher than the European Union average. That is a plus for us. But what I'm mostly concerned is that we don't know what we use the internet for. And what we would like to know also in policy making is that to make sure that internet is being used by girls and by women. And we know for a fact that not all women have smartphones, not all women have a device to access internet, or maybe they share one device and it's very controlled as to the time they use an internet and for what they can use it for. So it's very important for us not just to work on access, but to make sure also that if you have access, you have different resources where you can have that knowledge. Third is obviously by promoting digital literacy. I know also from the last economic forum, World Economic Forum, they've shared a report that we are very much focused on doing digital transformation, but not so much in providing enough training in order to increase literacy. We have some assessments that have been done also here in Kosovo. And I can share a statistic that says that so we have 91% of men that are literate, but not more than 70% of women are digital, have a digital literacy in the level that we needed to. So this is also an important factor, and STEM for All, as an example, is also an opportunity for these women to get access to resources and training and programs in order for them to grow in terms of that literacy. Obviously, is also by encouraging entrepreneurship through incubators, entrepreneurship centers. We have lots of programs. I remember I called it Upshift, was a very successful UNICEF program. We were working together with the sectors in order to allow more men and women all together to have access to entrepreneurship, but especially to women. And we can do this obviously by creating safe environments and communities that these women feel safe, first and foremost, and that they feel support through access to grants or access to know-how and important skills that they need to learn in order for them to be employable or also just open their businesses and go into the digital world. Last but not least, maybe from the government end of it, since I'm the only one representing the government perspective here, I'd like to notice that there's another way how we can all work together, and that is indirectly through the effects of technology in policymaking, which means, for example, we may reach an increase of women opening bank accounts if we make social schemes and they need to have a bank account in order to receive those schemes. And that is indirectly helping women get empowered and having access to new things. Technology example on how we can make them more accessible is that we can also, let's say if we allow the registration of properties to be made online, and if you do them online, then we make sure that we have an increased number of women that are registered as property owners. If you go through an online process, then these are some positive information measures that we can do in order to help increase both policy and use of technology at the other end.
Yeah, thank you so much, Daniela. And what I love about how you broke this down is that these are actionable steps, right? That governments can take, that educational institution can take, and even private sector. Thank you so much for that. And then Melek, I'd like to come to you with this same question.
Hi, everyone. My name is Melek Polatkonak. I'm the founder of the Turkish Women's International Network. We come to the same question from a very different angle. We are a platform, a social business that brings different parties together to be on the solution set of the challenge that we have. As Donietta said, one layer is about the awareness. We have gender biases that we have and we don't know. So it comes from society, from TV, from family, from comments and commentaries of our loved ones. So untangling us from that and going back to square one about what do I want to do, what is my dream, what's my potential, and what can I do is one question that one asks, and they're the role models, and surrounding yourself with the right people and finding networks to change the course of your life is very important. So this is the what's of the problem, but then the how of the problem, we got some questions from the chat about mentoring. Sometimes we know what we need to do. I want to be in the STEM fields. I want to get a mentor. I want to change direction, but the how is the empty space. And if we can collaborate as stakeholders, whether it's the government, NGOs, universities, families, individuals, in a concentrated way and an orchestrated way, we can create networks for change. And I would love to look at it from an ecosystem point of view, and I can segue into an example about our work that may complement the two questions, Amy. Because it's all about empowering the stakeholders, and when you empower a community, you give them the choice, a sense of progress and connections. So as an individual, I know what I can do to be on the solution space of having more women and girls in STEM. As an NGO, what can I do? Somebody has to divide up these roles and be in the concentration in the middle. I call this the missing middle. And to make it more clear, I'll share with you the example of what we are doing in the field. That may actually give you an idea. So Turkish Women's International Network is an organization where individual women like me are members, and we have a passion to be our best versions in whatever it may entail, STEM or non-STEM fields. And we care about the future so that we can contribute what we can to build a gender equal future. And we've been really struggling with this question. That's why we've built platforms and used technology in some other way. And I want to talk to you about one program specifically, the Women Mentors program that's targeting women and girls in STEM. We have used similar methodologies for other challenges that we have in the gender space, but I will segue into this very shortly. Can you see the slides, Amy? Are they coming up? Shortly. So what we have done is one of our members was the chief diversity lead of PepsiCo in the United States. Are the slides up? Are they online now? Yes, okay. And she mentioned to us that there is this NGO called STEM Connector. And pardon me, I've jumped to one of the chat questions in that sense. And we got the formula from the Women Mentors. It's a movement in the United States around bringing more women and girls in STEM. And the movement has 3 well-defined goals: activate companies and change agents, convene the STEM mentoring programs, and have a milestone goal of having 1 million mentoring relationships. So this was run in a different way in the United States. So we said, what can we do to implement this idea, to bring more awareness and to give roles to these different stakeholders using technology? So with our partners in ecosystem, we have localized the concept. Then we found supporters to fund the program. And we are the operating partner, and I will share with you a little bit, and that can give you a flavor of what we are talking about. So we knew in Turkey, if you ask companies to pay, very few will participate in a volunteer mentoring program. So we said we will create everything in Turkish because English language programming is not going to work. And then to make it sustainable, we have to engage everyone. It cannot be on one party's or 10 companies or 100 companies' shoulder. And we've started creating this program, and from the day one, we have invited everyone, our whole ecosystem, in weekly meetings as we were rolling out. The first year we had weekly meetings, then we had monthly meetings, now we have bi-monthly meetings, and got feedback from everybody in open communication. We made it free for everyone to volunteer, and we have amazing partners, program partners. On top, it's the US Chamber of Commerce, Turkish Wind, STEM Connector, the US NGO, and the Millennium and Mentor programs. The funders are corporations who invest to have more women in STEM, as banks, foundations, energy sector, FMCG sector, etc. And the operating model is there's a full-time team, our team, that's running the operations. And we have layered it on an inherent community. We had this digital give back community, I'll show you in a few slides, with 20,000 members. Here we have role model videos of women in technology. We have career tip forums. We have a social networking platform. And we have this mentoring experience that's been with us over the years. So we layered it at our give back program, and with a website for the mentors, mentees, how you can engage, commentary. It runs on a digital platform like Facebook, so that you can attend events, you can meet people, read blogs, watch videos. And there is these dedicated groups for mentors and mentees. And we have rolled out an ambassador program to make it everybody's business. So all these business leaders are talking about this program in their specific fields. And the mentoring experience is digital. So we said people are not going to come, companies will come. So corporations come with teams of mentors, NGOs come with teams of mentors, any government organization that wants to come with teams of mentors, come with their teams. This is publicly available information. It's very important for the mentee to select who they are inspired by. So if there are 600 mentors, you can filter it by city, objective, energy, competency, and apply directly. So that if your mentor says yes, responding to your email, you are matched automatically. And everybody has a dashboard. Mentors and mentees have a dashboard to see their mentors, to see all the programming information. All these guides, wikis are digital. Everything runs digitally. We just ask the companies or organizations to pledge. After they pledge, they have a program manager, and then everything goes via email, supported by weekly meetings, office hours, etc. And we have a monthly newsletter and a LinkedIn page. This program is 2 years old, has around 900 mentors from 150 organizations. And for the pledger, you know, it takes an army. And if I'm volunteering, I want it to be worth my time. So the pledgers have dashboards. They can see their mentors, they can see the matchings, they can remind their mentors to fill their surveys if they want to report back their give back. So we gave everybody a certain role in the organization. And we support the pledge managers with dashboards. We have monthly mentoring trainings, ecosystem meetings, etc. So we are incorporating everything in digital spaces. We are a heavy Notion user, so that anybody comes has this self lookup tools, as well as our team at their disposal. So for us, the lessons learned by using technology to scale an initiative, so have more women and girls, was about piloting, automating a lot of things using digital systems, co-creating with our ecosystem, empowering the agents of change, the pledging companies. Everybody wants to do good. They just need to know how, and they need to be empowered. 30% of our mentors are men, and there are a lot of mentors from the diaspora. So there are assets that are asking to dance. So inclusion is about, the whole thing should be inclusive, so that when somebody wants to participate, we can show them how they can be part of a movement. And we had these core partnerships, and we empowered our community with a choice of how they can contribute, with a sense of progress and a connection via digital spaces. So we really think the future in all of these movements will be empowered by technology. Million Women Mentors is in Pakistan and India. This movement can be localized in your country as well. And we are very happy to share our playbooks with any organization that is looking for similar recipes to bring change.
You are mute.
So I just realized I was muted here, but yes, that was absolutely fantastic. And again, practical steps. I'm so happy that this is being recorded so that people can refer back. I did want to mention a couple of things. That it appears that the chat isn't working for Q&A. So if you do have questions, put them in the Q&A section if you're in the audience. And then I did neglect to mention that Anel is from Azerbaijan, and that the programs she mentioned were in the school system there, which is very impressive. So we're actually going to shift to a question from the audience that was very much in line with what our second question was going to be, and it's really about what are some of the driving factors in kind of fostering public-private partnership for STEM education for women and girls, but then what are some of the entry points? And I think let's maybe start. I said we were going to go in order, but let's start maybe with Daniela, and then we'll go around and get everybody's opinion on this question.
Sure. Thank you so much for the questions. I'm trying to keep up with the chat and the questions. I see that we have quite an active audience, and thank you for everyone that is being active. And maybe at the end we can share our contacts and you can reach out also directly, but you can also find us maybe all online, and feel free to reach out, and we can have one-on-one talks, whatever helps you to get into the STEM field, or make it easier for you to make a decision. The question is very, very interesting in itself, and it's very important. I would like to address it twofolded. Now that I'm in the government, I know that whichever project we work on or whatever path we decide to take, it's almost impossible to do it without a private-public partnership. And I think this is the reality, especially here in Kosovo, that for quite a lot of time, we have been operating quite isolated from one another in terms of working. And of course, everybody has their interests in terms of going on and keeping up with the progress and working in that regard. But it's very important, and I cannot stress it enough, that we all need to align in order to have these public-private partnerships, and especially for STEM. For instance, we cannot, as the government, as the public entity, access or reach out to families and girls if we do not have the way in order to make sure we engage them. And that is the only way we can do that is through the private sector, the organizations, through mentorships, through internships, through grants, through academia, traveling abroad and doing site visits. The government in itself cannot do this by itself. So it needs the private sector, the organizations, in order to complete this full circle. That is why in Pristina, we have opened just recently a triple helix cluster. We call it UPCO cluster, which is a formal entity founded by Pristina municipality, the Economic Chamber of Commerce in Kosovo, which is the umbrella of almost all companies in the private sector, and academia, the R&D we so much need to invest in and to allow room for it to grow and for us to reap the fruits of it in the public and the private sector. I applaud you once again for STEM for All platform. It's a very intuitive and resourceful. I did not know about it before, but once we all got together here, and I took quite some time in order to explore it. I'm happy to mention that here in Kosovo, we have a new but very effective and vivid network, which is Women in STEM, Kosovo. Then we have two other networks, Qikat in STEM, which in Albanian is, Qikat means girls in STEM, which is founded by two high school girls that have decided to pursue a career in STEM, and they are playing an active role with their peers in order to encourage them to take that step forward. We also have Based in Science, another initiative from another STEM girl, very young one, that has just started her STEM higher education abroad in UK, and is helping other girls here in Kosovo in order to understand what that means and how you can access the resources available. When we talk about platforms, we have to keep in mind that they are very efficient if, of course, we develop and design it in the right way to make sure they are accessible by everyone in terms of accessibility standards, and they are usable and have the right information in it. These platforms play a crucial role in order to create a safe environment, which for women is very important, to be able to share a platform that is a supportive environment that it's encouraging. Also, what's important and these platforms provide is that networking, and that results in opportunities, be that in mentorships or in internships. And that can only be done if all of us go together in one place and we share our perspectives and our stories, and then we inspire others that are there. Also, these platforms serve for advocacy. For instance, for governments, if the studies and reports and all these matters are in one place, it helps us a lot in order to influence the policy decisions we make every day. But there's another end, and I'll close it with this. For every platform that we work with, we have to make sure that we educate people to use it. Right now, there's plenty and tons of platforms everywhere. And I am not a fan of just designing and developing platforms. It's not just a checkbox for us to say we have this, we have this, we have that, and we have that. I do not like us as a government saying that. We need to make sure that we provide the right environment and the mechanisms, which can only be done with the private sector and organizations such as UNDP, UNICEF, and others, in order for us to make sure that these platforms are used and to maximize the efficiency of producing and working with these platforms. We do not want to come to a point where everything is online for you to see them, but you somehow are not encouraged to use them. And we should make into account and think about other ways besides technology and online. So through meetings, one-on-one, through forums, through workshops that are in person, that we kind of work with people, train them one by one, if need be, in order for them to use them in the right way, and then make sure that it creates a circle of other people wanting to use these platforms too.
Again, very practical steps. And of course, my said Anel, and I met Anna is from Azerbaijan. And then Anna, from the private sector perspective, what are, again, some of the actionable steps for companies to partner with public sector organizations, again, to kind of push some of these initiatives forward?
Well, yeah, I've covered some of the issues before. The partnerships that are with the private sector and the educational sector, in terms of the awareness rising and giving more information about possibilities in the private sector. But also, I would like to address the issue of the platforms. So when you look at it, you think that the platforms are only available kind of in a nationwide or based on the civil society participation. But I think experience of the private sector and how private sector manages this issue is also very important. What I mean by is that when private sector members acknowledge that there is a need for supported development of the female participation within their organizations, they take actions. And as a telecom and the wider group as a telecom, which is Nexal Holding, is can be regarded as a flagship in country because it has developed its own online platform for learning. This is accessible for all, but this is extremely powerful for women in private sector. Why? Because very frequently women, apart from their jobs in office, their corporate roles, have additional tasks of the caregivers, additional tasks of the in their families. And flexible learning platforms and flexible development platforms are extremely important for them. And within our group, we've developed Nexal Academy, which gives such opportunity to all members. And we've seen extreme amounts of women advancing in their development through that platform. Therefore, I think the private sector also frequently assumes the role of the educator, the role of the first in certain experiences and in certain developments as well, like in country, and as a given example of it. Another role of the partnership, as Donietta has mentioned, is with the public sector and with the government representatives, because yes, there are actions in all areas, but participation and exchange of experience is very important. And very often, private sector is not really invited to these types of the discussions or participation. So I believe that such active cooperation would be highly beneficial for both, for the public sector and for the private as well, to share at least learning experiences, to share the platforms, to share the awareness or the an understanding of the state of the situation that is there.
Yeah, and that's a great point too, because as we've even heard just here today, there's so many excellent resources. And I know, STEM for All is working hard to kind of combine and bring and make them all accessible, through one platform. But that's one of the challenges is being able to find some of these programs and access them. So a couple of themes that I am noticing in the Q&A that everybody is getting, all of our wonderful panelists are getting accolades for being so inspirational, which I absolutely concur. And there's a question for Anel, coming at this as a student and really just the very beginning of her career is, have you come across gender bias? You mentioned something that I thought was so, smart and important, which is around, normalizing that when boys and girls are young, that there isn't a separation in terms of what they're capable of and what they can do. So I guess the question is, have you seen that? How have you overcome it? And is there anything that you wish was available to you throughout your education that would have been, helpful to you on kind of the gender bias side, or just on the kind of cultural side, helping you with your, with your STEM career?
Yes, I was actually just typing the answer for that question. Thank you, Tatum Brunton, for it's a very, very smart question. And my answer would be that whenever I felt discrimination coming at my side due to me being a woman, a girl, I never responded to it verbally. And they never even showed that I cared about it, because as long as those people can take the opportunities from you, you don't need to interact with them. I think that a smart move would be just prove them wrong with your actions. With one exception, sometimes people are just uneducated, and then you can talk to them, explain to them why their point of view is wrong. But in my personal experience, people were rather ignorant than uneducated, and this is something that I can't help. And the confidence that I have in me, in my answer and in my actions, came from my mom being very progressive woman, very supportive in everything that I do. But I know that a lot of families, a lot of girls, they don't have that. And the resources that I would recommend are organizations, honestly, organizations like STEM for All, and there are many organizations like that, even So Coders and UNISAT. Well, UNISAT is rather a program, but still, or here you have it, STEM for All. Back at my times, I didn't know about the existence of those platforms, although obviously they were already existent. They existed already before. But what I would advise is maybe implementing more of a advertisement and marketing for girls who are younger than me, to already educate themselves about their opportunities, about how they should present themselves in any community, presenting themselves with the attitude that they have the rights that everyone in the same room has. And this is very important, and those are basically the resources that would help to overcome the barriers. So that's basically it. Thank you again for the question.
Thank you so much, Anel. And I think, you as someone young also will be an inspiration to, girls that are, closer to you in age, because they can feel more connected to you than perhaps a woman, who's later in her career, in a corporate role. So I think it's a responsibility and an opportunity for all of us to really show the art of the possible, and you have done just that. And I'm also seeing just a lot of questions about how people can get involved. Everybody, with the exception of Anel, we're not going to put anybody's, this is recorded, we're not going to put anybody's emails on here, but I know that everybody is on LinkedIn, and so that's probably a good place to reach out to everybody here on the panel if you'd like to get involved, or if you'd like to add resources or make resources available through STEM for All. Reach out to Tiffany. This has been so inspirational, and really just, again, actionable steps is one of the challenges. It's one thing talking high level about what the challenges are, which we understand, but I think what we have here and what we've heard from our panelists are really practical ways that we can really move the needle, and that we can help women achieve STEM education and move into the workforce. So with that, I would like to thank all of you for joining us today, audience, for being so engaged, and to our incredible panelists. And I'm going to hand it over to Shiba Harma from UNICEF to wrap us up. Thank you again, everyone.
Thank you so much, Amy, and to all of the colleagues. This was truly inspiring what we heard today from our expert speakers. Indeed, what I took away was certainly that digital technologies and the world that we are in offers us opportunities for progress towards gender equality, and therefore it's the most critical for global advocacy and investments that the 67th CSW is really addressing how technological change can be used to achieve gender equality goals and promote the rights of women and girls. So it's very, very timely that we are also having this discussion at the regional level and feeding into the global discussion as well. What I also want to address here is that we heard how the increasing proportion of women and girls is really required in all areas of public life, as many of our expert speakers noted, but including in the field of technical innovation. That's something which UNDP and UNICEF STEM for All initiative upholds that vision. That STEM education, as Anil and many colleagues really mentioned, has a huge potential to transform gender norms, not only the education system, but beyond, to really improve the quality of learning, but also opportunities and entrepreneurship for women and girls. One of the things that really stands out as a critical component for the STEM for All platform for us is how can we work together as multiple stakeholders? And a lot of the colleagues, our expert speakers, reference this, that more than ever we need the collective action by government, civil society, private sector, the technology community, with and for women and girls. So obviously we need, as we heard today, strategies and innovative approaches that would really narrow down the gender gap, the biases, stereotypes and norms. And here I can quote some of the key actionable points that were made by the panel to really create an ecosystem for change. Some of the aspects like increasing awareness of STEM careers, addressing gender biases, safe spaces are also important to engage, but enhancing women and girls' access to mentors, we heard that a lot, skills in digital networks, enhancing digital literacy came up through education and inclusion, and also the access to entrepreneurship programs, social schemes and policies, and how the policy level can also indirectly empower women and girls. And I think we also need to note that in that space, online safety for women and girls is also required, and it needs to play a critical central part in the teaching of digital skills as well. So overall, there's a lot to be done in this area, and both UNICEF and UNDP, we have a shared agenda in this, along with our critical partners like you all. So we invite all of you to also come in and join in that STEM for All space. We hope we can collaborate and substantially contribute to making a digital transition an opportunity for all, especially for women and girls who are already, as we heard from our collaborators, leading efforts to make science and technology accessible, inclusive, and safe. So many thanks to all of you and our external speakers, to all of our esteemed participants who have come together for a common vision today, to Amy for this wonderful moderation, and from the entire UNDP and UNICEF team behind this session today, we wish you all a meaningful, and I would say an ongoing deliberations and discussions at the 67th CSW. So warm greetings and best regards from all of us here. Thank you.